The best product leaders aren't just product managers. They are part psychologists, part economists, part strategists. They see the world through a lens of first principles. But how do you move from theory to practice? How do you stop being a victim of chaos and start being the architect of your own outcomes? This is the Sovereign PM, the podcast that deconstructs the ideas of product strategist Schwarzkopf to give you a more powerful way to think and lead. It's time to own your outcomes. Let's begin.
Okay, let's talk about that feeling. We've all been there as product leaders, right? You spend weeks, maybe months crafting this perfect roadmap, maybe even, a 5-quarter plan.
Oh, yeah.
And then, bam, it just smashes against market reality. It feels like this deep disconnect, this house of cards.
It really does. And our source today argues something, well, pretty provocative. It says, the problem isn't really our execution, our sprints, our agile process.
No, what then?
It's the philosophy behind it. We're acting like central planners, believing we can just gather enough data, enough user stories, enough competitor analysis to predict and control the future.
And the source says that's doomed.
Inherently doomed to fail. That's the argument, especially in markets as dynamic as ours.
Okay, wow. But here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The article doesn't just diagnose the problem, it offers this surprising alternative framework.
Right, pulling from the Austrian School of Economics, which is, famous for analyzing decentralized systems.
Yeah.
How markets actually work without a central command.
Yeah. So the idea is their critique of central planning actually gives us product leaders a more sort of resilient model.
Exactly. A way to build products that can actually weather those market shifts. So that's our mission for this deep dive. Let's unpack these Austrian principles and see what they really mean for your product strategy.
Okay, so if central planning via roadmaps is the trap, where do we start building this more resilient approach? The article kicks off with methodological individualism, big phrase. What's the core idea for product?
It sounds academic, but it's actually quite simple. It's the idea from economists like Hayek and Mises that all economic stuff, and we can extend that to product adoption, comes down to individuals making choices.
Individuals, not segments, not personas.
Well, those can be useful heuristics, maybe.
Yeah.
But the real unit of analysis, the only thing that truly matters according to this view, is the individual user's action. Why did this specific person do this specific thing right now?
Ah, okay, so it connects directly to something like jobs to be done.
Spot on. JTBD is all about understanding why that person hired your products for that job at that moment. It's not about the average user, it's about the concrete individual context. All strategy should flow from that.
Okay, focusing on the individual action, that definitely forces a rethink. And it leads right into the next point, doesn't it? The subjective theory of value. If value isn't inherent in our grand plans, where is it?
Precisely. Value isn't in the feature you build, no matter how many story points it cost. Think of the classic example. A diamond is worthless to someone dying of thirst.
Right. Context is everything.
Exactly. Value is a judgment. It happens in the mind of the user. It's subjective. That amazing feature might launch to crickets because, for the users, in their context, it didn't solve a problem they valued solving right then.
Which also explains why sometimes a tiny low-effort tweak can suddenly unlock huge engagement.
Totally. Because it connected with a subjective need you didn't anticipate. So our job isn't just building features, it's creating the conditions, the context, where users subjectively conclude our product is valuable for them.
Making user research, validation, experimentation, not just nice to haves, but
Now, the only legitimate way to actually discover value, you can't plan it into existence from an ivory tower.
this really changes the PM role then. The article explicitly says you are not the CEO of the product. How does that tie into the next concepts, spontaneous order and the knowledge problem?
Yeah, this is Hayek's big insight, the one that won him a Nobel.
Yeah.
Complex functioning systems like a market or even how a city gets fed.
Yeah.
They don't need a master designer, they emerge spontaneously
From individual actions.
from countless individuals acting on their own limited local knowledge. And that's the knowledge problem applied to product. The information needed to build something successful isn't in your head. It can't be. It's distributed.
Distributed where?
Everywhere. It's hidden in a support ticket. It's implied in a sales conversation. It's an insight an engineer has while fixing a bug. It's in user behavior data.
Yeah.
Your job isn't to know everything. It's to build the system, the feedback loops, the communication channels that allows that crucial distributed knowledge to surface and guide the product. You're an architect of discovery, not a central planner.
Okay, so if knowledge is distributed and order emerges, how do we steer? How do we interpret what's happening? This brings us to the idea of metrics as a kind of price mechanism, right?
Exactly. Think about prices in a market. They convey information incredibly efficiently. Your product metrics, usage, conversion, churn, NPS, support volume, they're doing the same thing. They are signals from the market.
Honest signals.
The most honest, unfiltered communication you'll get. A feature's usage plummets. The market is telling you its price, maybe complexity, maybe cognitive load, maybe it's just annoying, is too high for the perceived value.
So we need to listen to those signals above the noise, maybe even above the loudest voice in the planning meeting.
Absolutely. Treat your metrics like market prices. They tell you the economic reality of your product's value proposition in the wild.
Which leads to the final and maybe most timely parallel, the business cycle and hype-driven development. This feels very current.
Painfully current, perhaps. The analogy is quite direct. Just like artificially low interest rates in an economy can cause malinvestment money flowing into unsustainable projects.
Like building too many houses nobody can afford.
Right. In tech, hype cycles AI now, maybe Web3 before that, the metaverse often fueled by, cheap capital from VCs can lead to the same thing, hype-driven development.
Building things because they're trendy, not because they solve a real validated user problem.
Precisely. You pour resources into projects based on the hype, not durable user needs. And the bust inevitably comes the layoffs, the project cancellations. That's the market correcting those malinvestments.
Yeah.
The warning here is stark. Ground every significant investment in solving a proven durable user problem, not just the current hype.
Wow. Okay, putting this all together, it's a fundamentally different way of thinking about product leadership. It's moving away from being the visionary central planner.
It is. It requires, frankly, a lot more humility, giving up that illusion of control.
And instead embracing the role of a facilitator, a system designer.
Yes, trusting that spontaneous order can emerge if you create the right environment for your team and, crucially, for your users' feedback to shape the product. It's harder in some ways, less certain day-to-day perhaps.
But potentially much more resilient and effective in the long run.
That's the argument. Building products that actually adapt and last because they're constantly tuned by reality, not just by plans.
So let's leave our listeners with this. Hayek made that point about a single price for coffee encapsulating vast amounts of distributed knowledge. Think about your own product. How much vital hidden insight are you missing? Because you're not truly listening to its price signals, its metrics, its user feedback. What decentralized knowledge within your team, your support, your sales isn't being surfaced? What's the one shift inspired by these ideas that feels both the most challenging but also potentially the most impactful for you to make?
And that brings us to the end of this debrief. Our goal is to give you not just ideas, but a more powerful way to think. If you found value in this discussion, the best way to support this work is to give this episode a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future session. And if you know a fellow product leader who is wrestling with these same challenges, feel free to share this episode with them. As always, you can find the link to the original in-depth article by Karsten Schwarzkopf directly in the description below. Thank you for your time and your attention. Stay sovereign.